One of the things to consider in the study of modern governments is to the extent which the state is a military organism. And the reason why the state is a military organism is for two primary reasons. One is time preference, the second is accountability. The idea of time preference is that people prefer the present moment over the future, meaning you would rather have your dream home today than in 40 years from now. The same thing applies with governments. Nation states and federal banks want to live for today at the expense of tomorrow. This means printing more money and putting the cost on future generations, which is the primary reason the national debt increases every year and why the military budget continues to increase. When you consider the lockdown crisis of 2020, essentially the government waged war on a virus, and 40% of all existing money was printed during this time. Society became militarized, where everyone was standing orderly, 6 feet apart, in uniform with masks over their face, and essentially society was militarized against an invisible enemy, which was a virus. But moreover, the 20th century has seen a long line of wars, and the wars haven't stopped at all. In fact, they've only increased. That is because, as Franz Oppenheimer points out, the way to acquire wealth is through two means: the economic means of engaging in specialization, transforming capital into productive ends to exchange in the market with other people, so everyone is either a consumer or producer, and we have a market environment, or the political means, which is through conquest and exploitation, or moreover through political money, where you just redistribute money and existing wealth from the people who actually created things to the people who, with the snap of their fingers, print money and who are politically connected. And all this money really goes to the biggest sector of the government, which is the military. This is the military industrial complex that runs the government. The Trumanite networks of the CIA, Joint Chiefs of Staff, NSA, that are bankrupting the middle classes. The middle classes are the ones to bear the cost of the military empire. And this is the worst phenomena of democracies, is the militaristic warfare welfare state. And it's very akin to fascism, which is just a variation of socialism, which is actually derived from the left, which is the will and the might of, yes, we can do what we want because we don't have to listen to the ideas of economics. We just print the money, and with brute force in our national superiority can we accomplish our will. And it's a delusion to think that the collective will can accomplish what the market cannot. The trade-off is, if you don't think a market is capable of providing a good or a service, then the only alternative is the government. And the government is the biggest monopoly in the world. The governments are the ones who decide to wage wars. It's not even Congress anymore, which theoretically it was supposed to be. It's just presidents declaring war. And it's not even the president. It's the whole Trumanite network of the Pentagon. Citizens don't even get a vote. When they say they want to vote, they don't even get to vote in what wars they have to pay for. So coming back to the point of time preference, the empire wants to wage wars now that it can win and just bear the cost later, if at all. Democracies, and more specifically democratic politicians who are only in office for 8, 12 years, have to get the benefit now, because what they can't get now, they won't be able to get in the future. And to get on the lobbying boards of the military industrial complex, the weapon manufacturers, you kind of have to have some wars ready for this whole empire to sell its guns around the world, whether it's to the American military or to foreign militaries. But war is destructionism. It builds nothing for civilization. And this is a product of democracies. Now, the second point is unaccountability. Kings of history who declared war and incurred the debts via taxes had to pay these taxes back. That was the whole point of having a debt. But democratic politicians who have this collective mass ideologies and who aren't held accountable don't have to pay the cost back. They're not held responsible. This is the unaccountability that we so fear from a single ruler. But in an oligarchy, you have a whole group ruling who can be just as crazy, or if not more crazy, than a tyrant king. At least under the tyrant king, you know who the tyrant king is. And you have things like tyrannicide and regicide if the king fails to uphold the civil liberties. But under a democracy, when we're gaslit into thinking we are the government as the people, who do we hold accountable? So this is really a sham. It's a joke. It just leads to more wars. That's why democracy is so disgusting.